I suppose for me, John, I was very disappointed with Dublin last week. I thought Cork were better, but they beat a very, very poor Dublin side. I think Tipperary had 2 weeks now to go in and do their homework after the disappointing defeat to Limerick. So I'm going for a narrow Tipperary win, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was very, very close.
Absolutely. Shane Downing, we'll get more updates from you when the match throws in at 4 o'clock, Cork against Tipperary. In the hurling qualifiers at the Gaelic grounds in Limerick, it is knockout now. Clare 121, Wexford 17 points. David Meyler, are you still closely following the Rebels?
I do, yeah. My wife wasn't happy. I'm usually only allowed to watch football in the house, but I sat down and watched Cork and Dublin last week, all right. I agree there. Dublin were poor, but Cork were far better. But look, today's the bigger test. It's a tougher game. I think, obviously, I know my father was the Bannister for a while. He used to love those, the round robin in the Munster Championship kind of playing week. I think they had 2 weeks on, a week off, and then another, I think that's the best way for the GA. Look, I know they're amateurs. I know they've, the majority of them are working full time or whatever. But it is great to have, that kind of consistent hurling all the time to kind of keep them up to, the levels of the speed of hurling. And look, I just hope Cork win today because it's been a long time since we won the Liam McCarthy Cup.
Yeah, 15 years. And Cork need to be back there, David. They need to be back winning All Irelands for the good of hurling and for the good of Cork.
Yeah, well, I think the Cork people kind of want it, It's been, like you said there, 15 years is a long time. Like when I grew up, I remember being in the 99 All-Ireland when we beat Kilkenny. I remember going up to, Thurles Semple Stadium all the time with my dad to watch Cork in the Munster finals and then going up to Croke Park. I loved it, and it's been such a long time that you kind of want the young boys and girls to experience, Cork winning All-Irelands because, look, I'm a Blackrock man. That was my, local club, and they won the county championship for the first time in 30 years there a few weeks ago, of course. There was probably more talk about the video that went viral of them all walking around the streets, but you just kind of see the impact it has to, the parishes and the people that are, involved behind the scenes. And Cork is definitely a proud hurling county, and it has been too long. I still wind my dad up because they let that one go. I think that he should have won the All Ireland that year. Obviously with the loss to Limerick in extra time, because I think if they'd beaten Limerick, they'd have beaten Galway easy. But look, it wasn't to be. But I just hope that Kieran can get this side going and they beat Tipperary today.
Yeah, and
did you hurl for Blackrock, David?
Huh?
Did you hurl for Blackrock?
Oh, I did. Yeah, I was a serious hurler. Yeah. That's the one thing. Of course, look, I went down different avenues. I went and played professional football. Obviously, signing for Cork City at 17. I always wanted to be a footballer, but I was a far better hurler than I was footballer. I spent hours upon hours taking frees, going in handball alleys. I probably put more practice into hurling than I did football as a kid. My dad used to buy me a new slitter or get me a new slitter, and he'd hand it to me. And I used to live in Rochestown, and I used to go down to Rochestown College. There was a handball alley, and he'd give me a new slitter, and he'd say, "Bring it back to me in a few hours." And obviously he could tell by the slitter how many times I'd hit it off the wall. And it used to drive me mad.
This brings us into a debate, JD. We were talking about it yesterday, because Shane made an extraordinary point yesterday. We're talking about the Kilkenny-Galway game later on, and it's perfectly set up for a Kilkenny ambush and all of that. But he said, did you know that the 3 Kilkenny lads full back line the last day played Kennedy Cup for me when they were younger? So we got talking about the differences in sport in Kilkenny, the amount of good soccer players just from Kilkenny, for example. And Shane then made the point that basically Ireland's international football team has suffered greatly because of Gaelic games, and which obviously got me thinking of all these patriots turning in their graves and all that. But of course Shane is a big GA man as well. But it's an interesting point because he then mentioned a lad who was unbelievable at soccer that I wouldn't have known anything about, Shane.
Which one are we talking about, Mr. Clifford?
Richie Hogan.
Oh, Richie. Listen, Richie is one of, we got chatting about it, JD. The full now Kieran Wallace is left out of the starting team for today's game, but last week's full back line of Conor Delaney, Hugh Lawler, Kieran Wallace, all 3 of those had played for Kilkenny at the Kennedy Cup, and they're 3 of 8. 8 of the Kilkenny squad for tonight's game against Galway. 8 of them have played at the Kennedy Cup, which those who are into soccer will know all about the Kennedy Cup and the importance of it.
We call it a panel in GA, not a squad.
Yes, sorry, Johnny. I'm showing me wrong colours there, so I am. But yeah, Richie would have been one of the 8 there, so he would. And it's just amazing, particularly, obviously I'm living in Laois here, but we're right in the Laois-Kilkenny border, so my underage soccer, Jetty, would have been in the Kilkenny District Soccer League. And I mean, the amount of hurlers I see winning All-Irelands with Kilkenny who were really, really talented soccer players at underage level is incredible. And obviously that applies that applies all around the country, not just in Kilkenny, you know.
Yeah, kind of. I'm wondering, did the hurling skills you had when you were younger, David, help you as a professional footballer? Was it vision in any way, or was there any transference?
Probably not with hurling, no. Because, like, look, it's the hurley and it's the slitter. Like, it's different. The only probably thing I could take if I learned how to take a belt, like, do you know what I mean? A fella coming down the back of your legs with a hurley, like, or, you know, you're going up to catch a ball and you could have a finger broken, you get a slap. I always love it. The start, it's kind of more the old Cork teams of the early 2000s that I would remember. It's just, you know, after the national anthem, you know, and they go and they shake hands. Then there's just fellas clattering each other with the hurleys, like, you know, and that kind of, like, that bit of fire and that, like, I wouldn't have taken a lot, but I probably learned how to take a belt, which was, you know, good for football if I went into a tackle. But certainly with Gaelic, I played Gaelic all the way up to minor. I was involved with the Cork minor team. I was in the panel for when we won the Munster Championship. We beat Kerry down in Killarney. But that was my point. I was right on the cusp of, I was like training with Cork City senior team. There was talks of me being offered a professional contract, and the Cork management team or the minor management team didn't want me to play. They wanted me to commit solely to Gaelic. And then Damien Richardson kind of forced my hand. Looking back on it, he gave me an opportunity to play against Sunderland, so I had to make a call then. But like, it's tough because I understand, you know, now the FAI are trying to branch out and start younger to, you know, develop more kids, and then there's this big huge debate on whether or not kids should just solely play one sport or should they play numerous sports. Like, I even think it's a shame that, even like as we're talking about the hurling there, like, that there's not enough dual players, that you can't play dual. That, you know, I go back to my own time. You look at Teddy McCarthy winning, you know, 2 All-Irelands in 1990. You look at Sean Ogg having the opportunity in 99. I know they lost to Meath in the football, but it's a shame that you don't have lads playing both. Like,
I couldn't agree more today. Like, there's no way Conor O'Callaghan should not be able to play hurling for Dublin. There's absolutely no way.
But there is a way, and that's that he doesn't have the time.
He should have the time, though. He should be allowed by the county board to say, we don't need Conor O'Callaghan for the Leinster Championship, for one thing. We absolutely do not need him. We'll be able to show a bit of flexibility that he can play hurling for Dublin, because that matters as well. And it's like, I speak to Mick, my local butcher in Rialto, and he talks about his kid who's at Shamrock Rovers, and Marie Crowe would talk about her son, really promising Marie, the journalist, who's been playing with Shamrock Rovers underage, and the amount of training they're doing. This is like under 9. And there's a massive, as David says there, it's a real challenge, because if you think of all the kids of the last even 20 years who've watched the Irish international team, we haven't done much. Like, and then you look at the rugby and all that they've won, and if they're from a county that's very strong in Gaelic games, there's a big battle for the hearts and minds. And I always used to marvel at all the kids on the pitch at half time in Gaelic games, and it was never like that in League of Ireland. Kids were sort of half encouraged to go to games, and if you're a soccer mad lad down the country, more likely you follow the Premier League, and it mightn't be the same. And that's been a big challenge for us, because I think Shane's point is right. We've probably lost an awful lot, and I love hurling, I love Gaelic football, and I love soccer, so I'm not picking one over the other. But probably in terms of the players that have played for Ireland, it is probably true that we've actually missed out on an awful lot of talent that for whatever reason, maybe it was because soccer structures were so inadequate in this country, or whatever it was, you just haven't played soccer at a proper level.
The tweet I put out on a JD when I saw the kind of official plan from the FAI to say that 12 and 13-year-olds are now going to be made to specialise from that young of an age is, I mean, I don't know about the rest of you, but the goal that I probably celebrated most over the last 10 years was Shane Long's goal against Germany. Like, I don't know, I can't speak for Shane, I don't know Shane, but I'd be fairly sure, knowing what I know of Shane, that if he was told at 12 or 13 years of age, okay, Shane, it's time to specialise in one. You have to get rid of the other and you have to specialise in one. Fairly sure it's hurling he would have went to it. Fairly sure it's hurling he would have went to it, which means his career as a footballer and that goal against Germany doesn't exist if these rules if this had been the FAI's take back then on things, you know.
Yeah, that's very interesting, and we'll come to more of this after the ad break. Folks out there, 53106, is there really room for rugby, Gaelic games and soccer in a country of, just under 5 million people? Can we make it work in a different way? Some text in here, the grade that Johnny gave Ireland C, more like an F. Come on, say it like it is. Ireland are just not able to provide any kind of performance that can win games, as from Cahill. And I'd agree to a certain extent that Matt Doherty probably shouldn't have said what he said. But let's be honest, we were all thinking it. It was embarrassing and toothless. I've never said that about any Irish team. And all kind of flavour of text in. We'll get to them after 4. Definitely time to change the Irish manager. Chris Hughton, the right man for the squad. Well, everybody's got an opinion. That is Niall from Lucan. Back after the news with Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. David Meyler, Johnny Ward and Shane Keegan.
Be safe. Support local. Stay at home. Because it's up to us.
Have you taken the Guaranteed Irish Challenge yet this year? It calls on everyone to buy one gift from guaranteedirishgifts.ie.
It's an altogether better way to save jobs, communities and local businesses.
So look out for the Guaranteed Irish symbol when you visit guaranteedirishgifts.ie.
QuoteDevil.ie can save you money on your car insurance, van insurance or home insurance. Quote Devil Home Insurance is so easy. Get a quote in just 60 seconds and purchase cover in 3 minutes.
The Quote Devil's always got one hell of a quote.
Quote Devil Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
The famous Holland and Barrett 1 cent sale is back, with buy one get one for just 1 cent on hundreds of everyday favourites, and you can even mix and match. Shop the 1 cent sale now, in store and at hollandandbarrett.ie. And 17th of the 11th, 2020, selected items, cheapest item 1 cent, subject to availability.
What makes me smile? Free stuff. Supermarket samples, don't mind if I do. Hotel soaps and shower caps, can't get enough of them. So I love Specsavers, because with my PRSI entitlement, I get a free eye test and a free pair of glasses from their €69 range. Ka-ching! That's something to smile about.
The whole world smiles with you.
Subject to eligibility. Book an appointment or find out more at specsavers.ie. There are plenty of reasons to get an official Volkswagen service, from the expertise of a Volkswagen master technician to the confidence in using only Volkswagen genuine parts. However, to the majority of drivers, only one reason really matters: what you get when you bring it all together, an official service history. In fact, 78% of Irish drivers would pay more for your Volkswagen if it has a full Volkswagen service history. Help protect your resale value and keep your Volkswagen a Volkswagen. Book your classic service from only €179 at volkswagenservice.ie. Terms and conditions apply.
Get the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE 5G or the new iPhone 12 mini with 5G free when you switch to Air Mobile. With no limits 5G data and unlimited calls and texts, connect more today on Air Mobile, Ireland's largest 5G network. For more, call 1-800 500 300 or visit air.ie. Air, let's make possible. Unlimited allowance subject to fair use. Free handset subject to switching to Air. Available on selected plans. 5G network coverage subject to availability. For terms, see air.ie.
Littlewoods Ireland has all the brands you love. Our online store is stocked with your favourites, from fashion and beauty to toys and tech, so you can shop for everything you need this winter from the comfort of your couch. That's shopping made simple at littlewoodsIreland.ie.
Welcome to Go Loud Jazz, the new home for jazz music in all its forms. Big band, bebop, smooth, and everything in between. Featuring a mix of new tunes and famous tracks by legendary artists, from Monk and Davis, Parker and Coltrane, to Ella and Billy. Go Loud Jazz. Fascinating rhythms. Download the Go Loud app now for free. Go Loud. Podcasts, radio, and music to your ears.
You know that feeling you get when you sense a team's winning streak is about to end? Or when you know the pundits are getting it all wrong? That feeling? That's me. I'm your hunch. I was there back in Istanbul when you just knew the comeback was on. I'm the guy that tells you when the odds don't look so odd. I'm your hunch. It's time to start listening.
Heed your hunch with Betway. Download the app to find out more about Betway's Bet Club. Full terms apply. 18 plus Dunlewy.net. Bet the responsible way.
The Masters is back for the first time ever in autumn.
We are in uncharted territory here.
Watch all 4 days live, only on Sky Sports. Half price for 6 months. It takes a lot to win in April.
He's played a beauty. He's played an absolute beauty.
What will it take now? See it all live, only on Sky Sports. Half price for 6 months.
This is going to get better and better.
Search Sky Sports Masters. New sports customers only. Standard pricing applies after 6 months. Minimum term and further terms apply.
Championship Hurling. It's great to be back. At Centra, we have everything you need for an inspiring match day in. Like Inspired by Centra Belgian chocolate cookies, €2.40. Inspired by Centra mince pie range, 2 for €6. And Inspired by Centra Irish Gourmet Beef Burgers 4-pack, only €4. Centra, proud sponsors of the Hurling Championship.
Hunger is rapidly growing in places like Syria and South Sudan, made worse by COVID-19. Goal is on the front line, fighting the virus and ensuring families have enough to eat. But now we urgently need your help. Please make a donation now at goal.ie, because this Christmas, there is no mask for hunger.
Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease affects hundreds of thousands of people in Ireland, and living with it is especially difficult during COVID-19. If you or someone you know is affected, join COPD Support Ireland for a free virtual conference on November 21st. We'll share expert advice and information on living well with COPD in a COVID world. Register now at copd.ie. If you are worried about COPD or have symptoms such as persistent cough or breathlessness, call the advice line on 1-800-832-146.
It's Louis from Louis Copeland here. We're still fighting hard to support our staff and deliver great service to our customers. We have up to 20% off casual wear, gifts and suits online at louiscopeland.com. Thank you for your continued support and take care.
This Sunday morning on Alive and Kicking. Dietitian Orla Walsh on protein. How much do you really need and where to get it? Psychologist Stacey Ball on managing anxiety in children. And Professor Niall Moyna on getting men over 45 to move more.
Alive and Kicking.
With me, Claire McKenna, this Sunday morning at 9.
Thanks to Benelin. Always read the label. Ask your pharmacist for advice.
On News Talk. Across Ireland. This is the IMRO Radio Awards National Station of the Year. This is News Talk.
It's 4 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Stephen Burke. There have been 87% more domestic violence cases sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions compared with last year. The Director, Claire Loftus, has welcomed the fact courts are now giving priority to these cases. Tom Douglas reports.
Speaking at the annual National Prosecutors Conference today, the Director of Public Prosecutions said there has been 684 files related to domestic violence or the breach of a court order submitted already in 2020. That represents a massive increase on the 464 that were received in the whole of 2019. Claire Loftus said the sheer number of files submitted to her office since the pandemic began in total is up by over a fifth. The Director calls this extraordinary but said she isn't sure if it will continue into 2021.
The head of the HSE, Paul Reid, says the fall in the number of people with COVID-19 in hospital is really encouraging. There have been 28% fewer admissions, down to 254 compared with the recent peak at the end of October, while the number of people in intensive care has also fallen by 16% over the same period. Professor of Immunology Kingston Mills says the Republic and the North must work together.
You know, if we don't have compatible control systems north and south of the border, I mean, we're going to end up in an issue in Southern Ireland where, you know, counties like, you know, Wexford that are very low. And it shows that the measures that are in place in Ireland are working. But we're then having the problem of those border counties, of the effects of what's happening, or rather what's not happening in Northern Ireland.
A political scientist says the Oireachtas doesn't have the appetite to navigate the Seamus Wolf controversy. Dr Owen O'Malley from DCU says he doesn't think the threshold of stated misbehaviour required by the Constitution to remove a judge has been met.
It seemed clear of the people coming out that a lot of them were a bit unhappy that the judiciary is essentially kind of thrown its dirty laundry over to the Oireachtas to deal with. The Oireachtas is now being asked to effectively remove a judge who has done nothing wrong, according to the Supreme Court's own investigation.
And 2 swimmers have been rescued after getting into difficulty at the 40-foot in Dublin earlier. The Coast Guard sent a helicopter to the scene this morning along with rescue boats from Dunlera. Both were taken safely from the water and neither required medical help. It's 4 minutes.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to the AA. Download the new AA app to request a roadside rescue and track the patrol right to your car.
Wet and windy this afternoon with spells of heavy rain clearing to the north. Some heavy squally showers will follow and may bring hail, thunder and spot flooding. Top temperatures of 10 to 13 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Minimal contact in stadiums shouldn't stop the usual suspects from going down. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
And welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through to 5 o'clock in the company of the former Republic of Ireland skipper David Meyler, the broadcaster and journalist Johnny Ward, the opposition analyst with Dundalk Shane Keegan. You can text us on 53106. You can tweet us at Off the Ball. You can also watch us on our social channels for Periscope on Twitter at Off the Ball, on YouTube, Facebook and on the new OTB Sports app. Search OTB Sports in your app store now to download it for iOS and Android. Our football coverage brought to you thanks to Paddy Power. For more information on responsible gambling, visit dunlewy.net. Talking before the break about players in football and hurling that had careers as younger people in different sports. I'm getting some good texts in on this. You might have a point about Shane Long. However, in his younger years, Shane showed greatest prowess in athletics. He was national under-15 champion in both sprint hurdles and 250 metres hurdles, and was also a decent high jumper. He used to train in Nina Indoor Stadium and had great talent in athletics. Interesting chat. I played 15, 16s and youths with Ireland, same team as Roy Keane. Won the Milk Cup and the FAI Youths Cup. Brian Whelan, the famed Offaly hurler, was probably the most gifted soccer player I played against with at the time and level. Whenever he played soccer, in between winning 2 All-Ireland winning minor titles in 88 and 89. Thanks, that is from James. The bad news for Offaly is they've lost on penalties to Down in the Christy Ring Cup this afternoon. That's how far Offaly have fallen down the pecking order in hurling. Clare have beaten Wexford. Wexford out of the hurling championship. 121 for Clare. 17 points for Wexford at O'Moore Park. Tony Kelly with the goal for the banner. Hi lads, I think the new pass move style of play is taking away some of our traditional fighting qualities. As Roy Keane said, we didn't even get a yellow card the other night. Northern Ireland look more cohesive and have more fighting spirit. That is from Sean. What do you make of that text in there from Sean, David?
I understand it. I get it. But even if you look at the personnel that played at the start of the game the other night, how many of them would be renowned for, you know, that style of player? You know, like the kind of, like almost the player I was, like, you know, the one who does the dirty side of it, the kick in, and do you know what I mean? We're trying to now play, so you want your better players on the ball. People will knock me and say that I wasn't as naturally gifted, say, as a Conor Howard and a Jeff Hendrick on the ball. I didn't look as comfortable on it, but then I was the one who was flying into tackles and all that. Yeah, I get that. Look, you can make a case for both sides of it. You think Ireland, England, you'd expect tackles to be flying, but you know, I didn't, to be honest. I would have hoped for a couple of fellas. Certainly, if Declan was playing, I'd like someone to have a cut off Declan, but it wasn't to be.
Oh man, that would have made David. It would have been grand if we just did Declan Rice or something. Yeah. Anyway.
No, sure. Look, I get it. I get the frustration from everyone in Ireland with Declan. I kind of, in my mind, from the moment it kind of came about, I kind of thought Declan was gone. Look, I get on really well with him. If I was playing against him, if I was playing the other night and he was playing, I'd have certainly had a cut off him. I'd have, well, to be fair, I'd have tried to have a cut off everyone, just to kind of, you know, try and get one over an English lad.
Do you know what the thing about Rice is? Like, Rice has become almost completely irrelevant because you're just looking at Grealish and you're like, oh my God, this lad is absolutely off the charts good. And Rice is he just looks almost irrelevant compared to him.
Well,
the only thing I'd say there, Johnny, is like, as a team, which one do we need more? I mean, we're absolutely crying out for a proper holding midfielder.
Stop. We absolutely are. But Grealish compared to Rice, Grealish is different level altogether. I'd take Grealish over 3 Declan Rices at the moment.
No, but is it more about the granny rule? You know, you could get Houghton and Aldridge into the Irish setup in the 80s. You could have Harry Kane, Reece James, Jack Grealish, who did play at underage level, and Declan Rice, who played friendly matches. None of them want to play for us anymore.
Yeah, well, we weren't, like, I mean, this debate is bloody boring at this stage, but, you know, they're both gone. We need to work with the players we have, and the players that he's brought in tomorrow, there are a lot of young players there that want to play for Ireland, and I think tomorrow will be interesting because hopefully it'll give like the likes of Ryan Manning a chance. Knight coming in, obviously we have to make changes at the back, necessarily changes, and it'll be interesting to see what these young players can do. We still have massive potential, I think, JD. It just hasn't been. It'll take a bit of time, but we've never had probably the generation of under-21s coming up, and we need to be positive about it, and obviously not so much worry about how brilliant Grealish is.
Got a text in here from Ed Randolph, Darren's dad, the basketball coach. He's been in touch on 53106. Listening to the chat, really believes in playing multiple sports at a young age. Why can't a kid play different sports up to the age of 15 or 16, and then when they're older, it's the perfect time to declare that they want to specialise in rugby, camogie, football, basketball, whatever it is they want to play. Playing multiple sports. I'll just finish the text here. Playing multiple sports from a young age develops so many different skills that will help you in your main sport down the line, like peripheral vision, their balance and technical skills. We need to be facilitating and encouraging this. Text in from Ed Randolph.
I think you need the clubs and the coaches at the various clubs, as much as they have selfish considerations. And if you're lucky enough to be a young lad playing for Shamrock Rovers are going to try to be elite at everything, and they're going to try and be better than everyone else at all levels to be the best club in Ireland, and that's fair enough, JD. But it's a very tough one for parents, I think, because first of all, there's a danger of burnout. And second of all, it's a lot for a young kid to take in who he or she may not actually develop as well as might have been the case. But I think the coaches really do need to show a bit of leeway here, because you're dealing with, basically young kids who are physically and emotionally not developed yet. And I would agree with Ed Randolph there. I think you definitely need the kids to enjoy themselves and not be rushing into things, not be fully fledged at the age of 12.
I disappeared down a rabbit hole of reading old Kennedy Cup stuff last night after the chat I had with Johnny yesterday, and I'll tell you who's very good or a prime example of what you've just described there is Aidan O'Shea. I actually stumbled across Aidan O'Shea wrote a Leaving Cert diary piece for the Irish Independent, I think it was, when he was doing his Leaving Cert over a couple of weeks, that I just came across last night. It was a really good read, but in it he talks about trying to juggle all of the sports that he was doing, along with trying to juggle studying for school on it as well. But I knew he was fantastic at his Kennedy Cup. I knew he was a great soccer player, and obviously he had a very, very good basketball career, and still plays quite a bit of basketball when he can as well. And there's no doubt that whatever about crossovers between, you're asking David about crossover between soccer and hurling, like there's no doubt obviously that there has to be crossovers that are very beneficial in terms of basketball and Gaelic football. Here I'll give you a strange crossover. There's two very, very good currently two Irish Aussie rules players in Zach Toohey and O'Riordan from Colin O'Riordan from Tipperary. They were both fantastic soccer players. They both had did really, really well at their Kennedy Cups as well. So look, a sportsman is a sportsman,
I'm always kind of thinking we need to get rid of rugby, get rid of hurling, get rid of Gaelic football, get rid of basketball, get rid of all these sports, and just have one sport like New Zealand. Just have soccer, and then everything will be good.
This is a problem, though, that really strikes at the issue of the structure of football in this country, which the two lads will know about. We have League of Ireland clubs that are sort of sporadically dotted around the country, apart from in Dublin, which in Dublin they're probably enough. But you look at places like Laois, Tipperary, Cavan, Monaghan, Mayo, Kerry. That's just off the top of my head. No League of Ireland club. There's no kind of pyramid structure for them players to develop as young lads, unless they want to go to England. That's not going to be on the agenda anymore with the Brexit rulings. So if you're a young player, you can probably play at an elite level earlier in other sports than you can, because the footballing pyramid structure in this country, which has been a major failing, is basically still a major problem. You'll have League of Ireland clubs who'll kind of, so Sligo Rovers and Galway might be sort of scrapping for the Mayo players and so on and so forth, and the players in Cavan and Monaghan, maybe Finn Harris might look for them, or Longford, but it's not ideal for the young players. So we need to have a system in this country where there are clubs that can aspire to represent at League of Ireland level and have that pyramid structure where there's a ladder, because at the moment there are large swathes of the country that basically, as a young player, it's difficult to say, I'm going to go down the road of playing elite soccer here. Well,
the first thing is Gaelic games, isn't it? Like, you go to a small town, it's a Gaelic pitch. Like if you go to Innishteig, I drove around there earlier in the year, Gaelic pitch. I went to see Robert Shaw from Jaws. Used to live in Termacady in Mayo. And it's a very remote part of the west of Ireland. And I was looking for a headstone because he died there to pay tribute to him. And the only thing in Turmakeedy, there's a shop, a pub, and a GA pitch. And that's what you're up against from a very young age, I think.
Well, it's so important, JD. Like, I really can't stress this. I think this is absolutely crazy, been forcing a 12 or 13-year-old to make a choice that if you are elite level at two sports, you must now drop one of those two sports. I mean, that is, to me, is so wrong on so many levels. And you say they don't have enough time. They should have enough time. There's 7 nights of a week. If you're 12 years of age, burnout doesn't exist at 12 years of age. You might need one night over the course of the week where you're not doing anything. Every other evening, you're bored out of your mind if you don't have some sport to play. So you want to be playing 6 out of 7 nights a week. Why can you not train at an elite level in soccer? I keep calling it soccer. I know people will kill me for that, but I'm just, I suppose, to distinguish from Gaelic football. Why can you not train at an elite level in Gaelic football 3 nights a week, or hurling 3 nights a week, and train the other 3 nights a week in soccer? My not to get too personal, but my brother, I have a brother is nearly 20 years younger than me, right? He as a 12-year-old decided he was big into his soccer. He was going quite well. He was a goalkeeper. He went up and he signed for Belvo up in Dublin, right? He played 2 seasons up at Belvo, who were really, really good to him and the whole lot. Won a couple of titles underage up there. But the whole way through that, JD, he hurled away for the local club here, and he hurled away with the development squads down here as well. So he did. And over the next few years, the soccer didn't work out quite as well for him, and he started to lose a bit of a love for it and the whole lot. And this year he ended up hurling for Laois Minors under Derek McGrath in an experience he absolutely loved. If he'd been told at 12 that he had to drop hurling altogether if he wanted to play soccer, I don't think he would have been able to come back into the hurling as easily as he did a couple of years later, and wouldn't have had the opportunity to have the experience he had this year.
David, you must really just have only football over there. I know cricket is popular in England as well in certain swathes, but it is a minority sport compared to football. Football is a religion over there.
Oh, yeah, it is. That's the thing is, like, if you look in Ireland, the GAA is our religion, really. Like the hurling and football, you say you go anywhere. Do you know what I mean? There's GAA pitches everywhere. I'm really on the fence with this. Like, it's tough. Like, I agree with Ed's, Darren's father, like that, you know, children should be able to play as many sports. But then I do see the other side of it, the bigger picture. Can we get these young fellas in at 11, 12 and 13? It's almost following, you know, the European model. If you look at the way England do it, Germany do it, Holland, especially someone like Ajax, you know, it's done in Portugal, Spain, that they're getting these young fellas in training. Like, I did something not so long ago, and I was speaking to Emil Heskey, who has 5 children, and he said his sons are training 5 days a week. I think his eldest, I believe off the top of my head, was 12 or 13. Like, they're training 5 days a week. Then there becomes the problem, he can't play another sport because they're training so much. Look, if I had been 12 at 12, if I was asked to pick a sport, I'd have probably picked hurling. Because, look, my father won All Ireland with Cork. He was coaching. Do you know what I mean? It was in my blood. You know, I kind of get both of it. I would encourage all children to play all sports. Like, my daughter's 4, and you know, there's talks of, you know, hockey at her school, and I'm saying, do you want to play? It's kind of like I'm leaving it up to her if she wants to play or not. Like, I would encourage her to play everything, probably not rugby. Because I've seen the damage it's done to a few lads I went to school with over the years. But it's so difficult. Like, prime example, when my son started walking, my dad said, "Oh, I need your address." What came in the post? 2 Hurleys. And he bought like I have them there. They have the Cork coloured grips on them and everything. Like, and we had to take the Hurley off him because he was smashing things. But it was like, I'm like another one. Like, I buy him a couple of football tops for clubs I've played for. He's got the Ireland kits. I'm waiting on the new Ireland one to be sent over and that. But my best friend, massive Kellogg's rugby fan, sends over the Ireland rugby jersey. Then I've got other family, you know, sending over the Cork hurling jersey. Do you know, it's kind of, you can see there's such a, like my son, my wife doesn't want to go to Ireland. I would love to go to Ireland to live there, because I want my son to play hurling. I want him to play Gaelic. I want him to play soccer. I want him I want them to experience what I experienced as a child, but there's no hurling over here. My dad says maybe we could set up a hurling team over in England, but it's so difficult. I get what the FAI are trying to do, I really do, but I would encourage, and look, I'll never forget, I can only speak on my own experiences. I played football for St. Michael's, who's obviously, the sister club to Blackrock. That's our football team. We had a coach, Jerry Lenihan. Jerry was my coach all the way from under 12 to kind of minor. And Jerry was very good to me in the sense that when I wanted to go, soccer training, I might miss GA training, never a problem. As long as I was there enough to kind of say, you can't just turn up, for the game, play the game and off you go. I was there enough at the time, but they were very accommodating. There was even I'd probably have to ask my dad, but there was a period for about 8 or 9 months I didn't play hurling at probably 15 or 16 because I was playing so much that the hurlers wanted more out of me, that I couldn't afford to miss sessions. They were like, come on, like, you're showing promise in this. There's a pathway to go on, but it is so difficult. But I would just encourage, even for kids who are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 at that age. I know, Johnny, you mentioned burnout. I disagree. I don't think a child should have burnout. That's kind of your release of energy to go and play as much sport as you can. But you don't know at that age if you want to play hurling, Gaelic, rugby, soccer. So play them all. And I think eventually you'll find your pathway. I think you'll find your way, and hopefully a lot more of them go on to play for Ireland, and we keep producing more and more and better players. Because like the work that the underage is doing is phenomenal. Me and my dad often, we're in the process of writing a book, me and my dad together, and we're going over, the underage. I never played, for Ireland 13s, 14s, 15s, 16s, 17s, 18s. I made my first 19s appearance, was the last 19 international game against France. That was my first game for Ireland. Then I played under 21s. I think I have 11 or 12 caps for the 21s. But I was never in the Irish setup. But now you look at Jason Malumbi, Adam Ida, even so much as Jack Byrne, John Egan, they've played all the way through. So there is, Ireland are finding a way to produce players through the systems. And that a lot of that does come down to the coaching from, Jason Donoghue at the 15s, Paul O'Sam at the 16s, Colin O'Brien at the 17s. Tom Mohan, Jim Crawford, all those fellas are putting in phenomenal work. But there is certainly, they're now looking, can we go a little bit younger to kind of get that European model, which I understand, I do get it, but it is just, it's so difficult.
What's the book about, David?
It's our sporting life, father and son.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, don't worry, I'll be on Off the Ball promoting it soon. Amongst many other places. Yeah, David Meyler. I can't give away too much, but it's about his journey through life and my journey through life and whatever.
Absolutely, we look forward to reading it and promoting it. We got to take an update from the hurling. Cork against Tip down at the Gaelic ground. Shane Downey.
John, how's it going? So down here, it's Tipperary 5 points, Cork 2 points. I suppose the conditions, as I said earlier on, they're really, really bad. There's an awful strong breeze here. Just to put a bit of light on it, John, Cork have only had 3 shots on target. They got 2 scores and 1 wide. What's very interesting, John, is that they did have, just before the water break, they had Patrick Horgan sitting in the edge of the square and nobody within 60 yards of him, but they just didn't choose that. They were actually finding it too difficult to get the ball up to him as the conditions are too bad. To my calculations here, John, Cork have taken 12 puckouts. They've only won 1. They've only retained 1 of their own puckouts and they're losing every one of them. Just there a couple of minutes ago, Tim came to come out with a ball. Michael Breen hit him a belt of a shoulder, threw him over the sideline, and Liam Sheedy went stone mad. So Tipperary are well and truly wound up. Listen, there's only 3 points in it. A strong breeze. It's not a great game so far. Plenty of mistakes. But I'd be probably happier if I was in a Cork camp than a Tipperary camp.
Okay, Shane Downing there. Thanks for that. We'll be back to you shortly. 53106 for your text messages. Here are some of them. Great show, lads. I'm sorry, but Ireland are worried about being in pot 3 for the World Cup draw. At this rate, they should be in pot 4. They are now a 3rd world country when it comes to international football. No team is afraid of them now. Very, very poor. No direction in sight. Hi, lads. I've actually given up on watching Ireland's games in the last few years. Under Trapp and then O'Neill, it was just too bad. When Mick came back, I started watching a bit now and then. And Stephen Kenny, I've been watching again. I didn't watch much of the England game the other night, but I did see them playing. some real football for a change. Honestly, I'd rather be beaten and play football like it should be played. At least we look like we're probably now on a journey to try and play real ball and make long-term changes to our style. It's the only way forward. I wish Stephen the best, and he needs time. That is from Paul. You were talking there about David, about Emil Heskey and his son, like training 5 times a week, and I was always wondering, if you don't watch the Bundesliga regularly, the hype about Jadon Sancho, and then you kind of see how technically good he is the other night. We have to get players at underage level to be technically good if we want to play this progressive football and be able to compete against the bigger nations.
Yeah, of course. That's why, look, in England, they're training kids from, I'd say, 8, 9 years of age are training, probably at least 4 times a week. The clubs have got partnerships with the schools so that the kid's not missing out on an education, but they almost turn professional at 13, 14, where it's so committed. And that's the point I make. I get it. I understand it, because we're trying to develop from the early ages to get these players ready, as like you said, for, the international team. Wait there, there's a goal for Cork there. That's good news. Have it on there. There's a goal there, yeah. So you can tell Shane.
Taking Shane Dowden's job, David.
Yeah. I wanted to correct him as he was speaking, because I've seen Nash there. He's pucked out, and Cork won 3 of the puck outs. So he was wrong there. No, I going back to what I'm saying, I get it. It is, look, it's so difficult. It really is. It's not like, Shane, you obviously have your stand on it, that a child shouldn't be able to, shouldn't be made choose a sport. But I understand it. The kind of what we're trying to get. We're trying to develop these players so that can we get players to, the top teams in England or Europe or whatever way when you play it, and then we have a very successful international team. That's what we're trying to achieve. They're looking at the big picture. We're looking at the next, 20, 30 years. Can we develop these players? And if we come back in 30 years, I'll be 60, and we'll see how it worked out. But it's just so hard.
What could work in our favour there is Brexit, because it looks as though opportunities for younger players to go across to England are potentially going to become a hell of a lot less, which might force them. They might have no other choice but to start looking at European destinations in terms of their development. I think it would be absolutely fantastic for our 17, 18-year-olds, to be looking at going much further abroad than just your traditional UK clubs. I mean, we see it. It's very, very seldom it happens. I think, Johnny, you're a fan of him as well. Conor Ronan, who I really, really like with the 21s, he has gone across. He was already on a loan deal with a club in Slovakia, and he's currently at Grasshoppers. And I think that's brilliant. I'd love to see more of it. There's a lot of hearsay talk. Again, Johnny might have heard it. There's a lot of hearsay talk that this wonder boy at Shamrock Rovers, Kevin Zeffy, there's a hell of a lot of talk about Inter Milan in relation to him as well. I mean, I don't know whether there's any truth in that or not. But again, I would love to see some of our bright young footballers, go to the continent and see how does that help with their development.
The flip side of that, though, Shane, is like, it's kind of... Most people who left this country, I guess, went to the States or went to Britain because English language, lots of Irish immigrants over there and so forth. And football is kind of like that, where it's seen as a strange thing maybe to go to, to the smattering of players, even the top players. Even Liam Brady was an outlier to be playing in Italy. And for young players to be going, is very unusual. But that's not really the argument. I sincerely hope that the Brexit thing means that our 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds, that our minors have to stay in this country or go to somewhere in the EU, because essentially that'll mean that they're more likely to stay in Ireland and get their education. And politicians listening in, this has to happen, that we have proper academies in this country, that we have a proper football industry, which we never have. Because if you're a young kid, David Meyler's point there about rugby, I think is massively relevant, in that if I had a child, I would absolutely not want him or her to play rugby. I think they haven't a clue in terms of the physical repercussions, the battering the bodies are getting from basically, beefed up gym freaks, really, that rugby has become compared to football, which is a lovely sport to play. So if you're a young kid and you want to play professionally, Gaelic Games doesn't offer an option there because it's an amateur game. So you have rugby, which I think is a lot of parents wouldn't want their kids to play. And football should be, the best option really. But we need to have a proper football industry in this country, and we need to have kids like Shane's brother being able to play locally rather than going to Belvedere.
Yeah, well, that's why I've said 17, 18 rather than 15, 16. I mean, the crack of them going across at 15, 16 is absolutely crazy. It really, really is. But by 18, if they've had, they could potentially, as you know, Johnny, as we've seen with Bohemians lately and a couple of other clubs, there's fellas playing first team football in the League of Ireland at 17 and 18 years of age. That's 14. Absolutely fantastic.
14.
If they could be 14 14.
We've had 14 and 15 this season, yeah.
Yeah, but I think that if you could have a scenario where they're getting 3 years, 2-3 years League of Ireland first team football from the age 16, 17, 18, then maybe getting some football on the continent with a move to the continent or a loan deal from a club to a continent. You'd love to see them get a bit more of a mix of an upbringing rather than just the traditional one that everybody gets at the moment.
Okay. I just want to touch on Johnny's point there. You were going on about the rugby, and you were talking about academies, whatever. Obviously growing up in Cork, I went to Christian Brothers College, which is back when I went in. I think it would have been the early 2000, I'd say 2001 maybe, 2002, I think. The rugby have a far better structure in place than the football, the club football teams. I remember, because I was in an all rugby school and all my buddies played rugby with the school. It was kind of like I was like the black sheep because I didn't play. But they were in, if we'd start class at 9 o'clock in the morning, they were in at 8 o'clock doing different line out drills or gym work. Then at lunch break, we had our first lunch at 10:25. They'd be doing something again. They might have a team meeting where they're, the backs are doing something, the forwards. Then our main break between, I think it was 1 to 2 o'clock, they were doing more work. And then after school, they were training or they were playing a game. But they were kind of in that bubble all the time of, striving for consistency. It was almost an academy all the way. And then, obviously, there's always going to be lads who fall by the wayside who don't make the next jump up. But then they go into, your Munster, and then they're into the same, almost a professional setup. That's why I think, I can't speak on behalf of the Leinster schools or the Dublin-based schools that play rugby because I don't know them, but Christians and Praise have a great structure and how they get their players ready to go in. And I think if we could find something aligned with that, that if we had, schools that have kind of soccer academies kind of built into them almost, even when I went to Christians, we used to have, it was a fourth year, in fourth year transition year, they had a soccer team where they used to kind of play, and I was only allowed play because, I was half decent at that age, that I was allowed play. And lucky enough, my business teacher, Steve Hogan, was manager, and he said, we had to go through different hurdles. We had to speak to the principal to get permission, the vice principal, then they needed permission off my parents and whatever. But there should be a structure in place for soccer, I think, in schools that they can go and play, almost mirrored with the rugby, the way they do it, because the rugby boys have a structure in place, and it is very good.
Okay, we've got to take a break. David Meyler, Johnny Ward and Shane Keegan, just on 53106, some text messages just before we go to the break. I'm involved in underage rugby for the last 16 years in Galway. I'm a firm believer of the youth being exposed to as many sports as possible. With certain coaches who believe that success is measured by winning at any cost rather than developing and exposing youth to as many sports, develop all aspects of skills, creating an all-round player for their senior team. Galway City's got 3 senior soccer teams where, like rugby, Galway United should be used as a feeder team. If you get pushed out of the squad, you go back to your club team. This will create one strong competitive team for the city and the surrounding area. That's from Jimmy. Jack Reeler scored a hat-trick of goals in Croke Park playing for a Birmingham GA club at 12 years of age for Liam from Baldoyle. And poor parents dropping collection kids 6 nights a week by 2, 3, 4 kids. Not sustainable, says Mammy from Maynooth. This is Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk. Back after this.
Football on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power. New normal, same old football. Paddy Power. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
News Talk Breakfast.
So I'm here in the room, the mammogram room in Breast Check, and I'm about to put my breasts into a mammogram machine. Breast Check has resumed after over 7 months due to the pandemic, and they're encouraging women to get screened.
We are open again now. We will be doing everything in our power to get as many women as possible screened.
This Monday on News Talk Breakfast, I go for a mammogram to see what it's all about.
News Talk Breakfast with Ciara Kelly and Shane Coleman.
In association with AIR.
Monday from 7.
On News Talk.
Whether it's your first step on the property ladder or your first place with stairs, from new builds to rebuilds, a new home is one of life's biggest moments, and we all know life doesn't always go to plan. That's why at Bank of Ireland, our personalised mortgages can change if your life changes. When you're ready to make a move, we're ready to make it with you. Bank of Ireland. Begin. Lending criteria, terms and conditions apply. Over 18s only. Mortgage approval subject to assessment of suitability and affordability. Bank of Ireland Mortgage Bank trading as Bank of Ireland Mortgages is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
InsureMyCars.ie. Make it a really good afternoon and check out the great car insurance discounts at InsureMyCars.ie. Ireland's trusted car insurance specialists. For super family savings, check out
InsureMyCars.ie.
City Financial Marketing Group Limited, trading as InsureMyCars.ie, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
What does your van say about your business? The all-new Toyota Pro A City says ambitious. It says hard-working, taking 2 Euro pallets. And with Toyota Professional Services backing you up, dedicated to the Pro A City from just €15,163 ex-VAT. Contact your dealer today about our all-inclusive lease solution. Toyota, built for a better world. Price excludes delivery and related charges. Lending criteria, T's and C's apply. Finance provided by way of lease agreement by Toyota Financial Services Ireland DAC.
Sign up to AIR today and get gigabit fibre broadband straight to the heart of your home this Christmas. Plus, you get Amazon Prime Video on us for a whole year and the AIR Sport Pack free, all with Ireland's #1 broadband provider. That's totally unlimited broadband, Amazon Prime Video on us for a year and the AIR Sport Pack from just $29.99 a month for 12 months. For more, call 1-800-500-300 or visit air.ie. AIR, let's make possible. Subject to availability. Pricing refers to AIR Gigabit Fibre 150 meg. For full terms and conditions, go to air.ie/gigabit fibre.
Ireland's most widely read newspaper keeps bringing you the must-read interviews. In this week's Sunday Independent, Taoiseach Micheál Martin talks COVID-19, Leo and much more. Leading Democrat Samantha Power talks about what happens next in divided America. And Luke O'Neill on what you need to know about the coronavirus vaccine. Plus, 2 of Ireland's greatest actors, Gabriel Byrne and Stephen Ray, on their struggles before and after success. The Sunday Independent, real stories worth paying for, in print or subscribe at independent.ie.
COVID-19 wants to spread from person to person. There's lots you can do to protect those near you or dear to you. If you have COVID-19 or symptoms and you're waiting for a test or a result, self-isolate. Stay in your room. Everyone you meet during this time is at risk. If you're a close contact or you've just arrived in Ireland, restrict your movements. Stay at home for 14 days, even if you test negative. You might still be developing COVID-19 and risk spreading it to others. Our actions now are more important than ever. Visit hse.ie or call 1850 24 1850 for more information. From the HSE.
Our generation are the generation with the power to change the world, with small steps that make a big difference. Switch to SSE Electricity and switch to 100% green electricity. Switch today and get €270 welcome credit and 10% off electricity and gas. Free phone 1-800-818-466 or visit sseelectricity.com. This is Generation Green. EAB €1,797.88. Offer from the 15th of the 7th, 2019. Rates valid from the 1st of the 5th, 2020. Subject to change. 1-year standard unit rate discount for new home electricity and gas customers and direct debit and e-bill. For details of T's and C's, EAB, rates, exit fees, standing charge and green energy claims, see sseelectricity.com.
Make Christmas for everyone this year with Dunnes Stores. Incredible deals like Cadbury, Mars and Nestle medium selection boxes, any 3 for €5. Coca-Cola 10 and 12-pack range, only €5 each. And get €10 off when you buy any 6 bottles of wine and champagne. Plus, with our 10 off 50 grocery voucher, you save even more. Dunnes Stores. Make Christmas for everyone. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next grocery shop of €50 or more. Please drink sensibly.
The Masters is back for the first time ever in autumn.
We are in uncharted territory here.
Watch all 4 days live, only on Sky Sports. Half price for 6 months. It takes a lot to win in April.
He's played a beauty. He's played an
absolute beauty.
What will it take now? See it all live, only on Sky Sports. Half price for 6 months.
This is going to get better and better.
Search Sky Sports Masters. New sports customers only. Standard pricing applies after 6 months. Minimum term and further terms apply.
Strange times, we say. They certainly are. But we take heart from the spirit people are showing. Looking out for neighbours. Thinking about what really matters. And right now, around the country, good people are working to produce great tasting Irish food brands. Local products you can really trust. So when you shop, you can support thousands of Irish jobs and businesses by looking for the Love Irish Food heart. So next time you're shopping, have a heart. Love Irish food.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Minimal contact in stadiums shouldn't stop the usual suspects from going down. Gamble responsibly. GamblingCare.ie.
And welcome back to Off the Ball Football Saturday here on News Talk. John Duggan with you through until 5 o'clock. David Meyler, the former Republic of Ireland captain, Johnny Ward, the broadcaster and journalist, and the opposition analyst with Dundalk, Shane Keegan, are with us. 53106 for your text messages. Just going to break away from football for the moment for Gaelic games updates. We have Clare knocking Wexford out of the championship earlier on, 121 to 17 points. Shane Dowling, what's the latest from the Cork tip match in the Gaelic grounds?
So, John, there's 36 minutes gone on the clock. I'd imagine there's a free here for Tipperary that Jason Ford has hit from in around the middle of a 65. That's gone over. And it's Tipperary 9 points to 1-4. Although the Cork players here are going stone mad, John, they obviously think it's a wide ball. I suppose the big substitution just before half time, John McGrath was taken off. Willie Connors was brought on. He looked quite disappointed coming off. Liam Sheedy hasn't been slow to make any moves. But one thing I've been very impressed with, John, is Cork's work rate. Today is not the day for sexy hurlers. Today is the day that takes that of grind and hard work. And, as I alluded to, John, just before in the last update, Cork are leaving an ocean of space from their full forward line all the way out to the 65. The Tipperary are playing their sweeper in the middle of the field rather than protecting their full back line, and that came to haunt them. And Paddy Horgan, he won the ball on his own 65, a great interception, and he was able to run 40 or yards, John, straight down the middle and pull the trigger into the back of the net. I question why Tipperary are playing their sweeper so far out the field, and that goal is massive. It's half time here, John. It's Cork 1-4, Tipperary 9 points. Cork have a strong breeze to come in the second half. To me, they're working harder. They seem more up than Tipperary, but all will be revealed in the next 40 minutes.
Thanks, Shane. Yeah, not a day for sexy hurlers. Probably the line of the show so far, although the show's got about 15 minutes left. Donegal beating Armagh 122 to 13 points at Breffni Park in the Ulster semi-finals earlier on. Down defeated Offaly on penalties in the Christy Ring Cup semi-finals. They'll now play Kildare in the final. The Joe McDonagh Cup, Antrim 318, Kerry 214. The ladies' matches in the Football Championship, Donegal 213, Waterford 9 points. And in the Camogie, the quarter-finals there, Cork 315, Clare 8 points, win for Cork. And Waterford 10 points, Tipperary 112 at Porky Queeve. Just want to break away from the brilliant debate we've been having. I just want to read out a few tweets here. We've been debating the pathway for young players in Irish soccer. Should they be exclusively a soccer player? We don't need children specialising in under 12, 13, 14. They should specialise when they want to. Multi-sport develops multi-skill and multi-movement. If children want to play multi-sport, we should encourage it and not demean it. And Robbie Doyle, what a great debate. Thanks, Robbie. Can we also celebrate the fact that we got such a choice of organised sport in Ireland for our children? Well put, Robbie. Just on Joe Gomez and Liverpool, David, he's got a knee injury, could be substantial length of time, not as long as Virgil van Dijk, but Alexander-Arnold's out for a month. If you're a Liverpool fan or if you're Jurgen Klopp, are you worried about your title prospects with all these injuries? You see Salah now has got COVID.
You'd certainly have to look at it, yeah. Obviously, the return of Joel Matip has been big, considering Virgil was out. Obviously, now Joe Gomez is another big disappointment. And like you said, Trent is out for a month. I think Trent, obviously, he's so good going forward. I think you'd miss the centre-halves more than Trent, even though Trent offers more, in a sense that I think with a right-back you can probably get away with playing like James Milner there, who'll do a very good job, as we've seen in the past with them at left-back, if they wanted to do that. I think the centre-half is kind of that little core triangle with Alisson that they've been so good. And look, the signing of Alisson and Van Dijk were probably the missing pieces in the jigsaw for them winning the Champions League and the Premier League. So I think the centre-halves will be a big miss, but I still feel Liverpool will be thereabouts. I think they'll probably have to go into the transfer market in January to, strengthen, to bring in another centre half. I know the question was raised to Jurgen Klopp about, you didn't sign one, you lost Lovren, you didn't sign one. But, there's an opportunity for other lads to these young lads we've seen playing. So it is tough, but it's the hand that Jurgen has, and I've no doubt that Liverpool at home will certainly be able to dominate possession, keep the ball where the centre-halves won't be tested as much. It's just when you probably play one of the big six sides that how does he, tactically work around it, missing those key players.
8 games in, are you forming a view on what the Premier League is at? Now, I know you're talking to James Maddison during the week there, David. Leicester now top of the league. Are they going to fade again like they did last season? Are Spurs actually realistic title contenders?
No. I'm just going to say no. I think they'll be, up there for the majority of the season, but I think there's that bit on them, that they've not won silverware in a long time, and it's do they have the metal? Obviously, Mourinho is a game changer since he's been successful everywhere he's been. He's won trophies everywhere, but I still feel, I said at the start of the season, I backed Man City to win it. Even though my allegiance lying to Liverpool, I think it'll still be Liverpool and Man City 1 and 2. I think with the loss of the players, I'd probably tip City no again. I think they'll come good. They're capable of putting 6-7 wins together in a row. Spurs, yes, they've been, but their performances haven't been fantastic. They're not blowing teams out of the water. I think that's the big thing. You even look at the Europa League form. I know you're kind of chopping and changing your sides, but if they were to pick up injuries to Kane and Son, that could be crucial. Stuff like that. I can't see them winning it. You can hold it to me come, the end of the season, but I just can't see them doing it.
I think the Leicester-Liverpool game will be big. Obviously, Thiago coming back for Liverpool is going to offset to an extent those injuries, but as what I've seen of Man City this season, you couldn't be any way confident that they'll win the league. Even against Liverpool, when they probably should have won the game, they were okay, and defensively they still look shaky. Leicester have 18 points from 8 games. They've dropped 6 points so far. If they were to beat Liverpool, that would put a 4-point gap over them. With all those injuries Liverpool have, it's definitely a lot more interesting than it kind of looked at the start of the season. In terms of the betting, they're flip-flopping favourites, but neither is particularly strong. And it looks like one of those seasons, I think, JD, that maybe a bit like the League of Ireland this season, which was billed as a 2-horse race, and Dundalk didn't finish anywhere near second. This one could kind of I don't think it's guaranteed that they'll finish top 2 in that order, because Liverpool have so many injuries, crucial injuries, and Man City, there's no suggestion at the moment that Man City are the team they were.
I saw a remark somewhere that I think after 7 Premier League games last season, there was 5 points between first and second. And after 7 Premier League games this season, there was 5 points between first and 11th. So, that just shows how congested it is. But like you say, that is going to make for a really interesting season, because Liverpool, because of the injuries, City, because of the form, they don't look like they are capable of running away with it in the way that everybody expected them to make it, that 2-horse race. And it's not so much, Jada, from watching us, it's not so much that Spurs have improved greatly from last season. It's that the rest have come back towards us, nearly more so than anything. And I think that's a kind of a scenario that Mourinho will relish. Now, again, look, David's hit the nail on the head. I think if anybody's capable of pulling away, I do think it's City, more so than Liverpool, to be honest with you, with the Liverpool injuries. But if it stays tight, David has said Spurs don't have a reputation of winning. To me, I believe the reputation of the manager is more important than the reputation of the club. Absolutely, Spurs don't have a reputation of winning, but Mourinho does, and I do think that counts. I think if you had a league table that looks, obviously, it's not going to be as congested as it currently is come towards the end, but if you've got still maybe 4 clubs there with half a dozen games to go, and there's only a few points between the 4 of them, I do think that's the kind of scenario that you would see Mourinho really, really come into his own.
Is he still a winner, though?
Well, those games against Brighton,
yes.
West Brom, they wouldn't have won those matches possibly when Pochettino was having that dip. And Mourinho has won over 20 trophies. The success in life does not always go in straight lines upwards. Sometimes there can be dips. And Jose Mourinho, for me, he's an underdog manager, and this is an underdog team.
Yeah, I think if they can stay in touch, and he still has that siege mentality, kind of get the players into believing. I'd agree with Shane. I don't think Spurs historically, I think that's of absolutely no relevance here. It's kind of a season where at the moment we don't even have fans, so like it's a different scenario. But it's going to be really interesting to see what Liverpool do, because they're going to have to necessarily make so many changes to their back four, bring in one or two of the young lads, probably centre back. Right back's going to be a big issue. I don't know what they're going to do there, because if they play Milner, for example, against Leicester, that's an area that Leicester clearly target. Salah's been absolutely outstanding so far, but that probably brings room for Jota to come in beside Firmino. Obviously, the two, Fabinho and Keita, are coming back in as well. So they do really have a lot of depth. And for me, I still think Liverpool are definitely more likely to win the league than City. Liverpool will still score a lot of goals. They've arguably been winning games that they haven't even been playing that well themselves. And Thiago's come back. I do not see. I think City are eminently vulnerable. And I wonder, the two managers, Mourinho has that track record. Obviously, there's a strong theory that Guardiola has lost his spark at Man City, and I think that still is very, very valid, because I don't see this invincible or brilliant Man City at all this season at any stage yet.
5-3-1-6.
Well, you've got Spurs. You've got Spurs at home to Man City next Saturday evening, and if Spurs win that game, they're 8 points clear of City. I mean, that's a big gap even at an early stage of the season.
That's a fascinating game now.
Yeah, and they got Chelsea as well.
It is. But the point as well is, Man City have a game in hand, right? Obviously, they're 6 points behind Leicester. They win the game in hand, they go up to 15 points, and they're up around 5th or 6th. Then it's 3 points. And as you said, this is the point I'll make, right? Why I think City will come good is they're not playing particularly well. They're getting results, and they're not out of touch. Now, if they lose to Spurs, like you said, that 8 points is massive. Do you know what I mean? Because then you're looking at Spurs losing 3 games, City winning 3 games, and then, you know, the teams that at the moment who can beat Spurs, you're still looking at the top 6. So they're like the other teams, like your Liverpools, your Chelseas, your Arsenals, your Uniteds. They'll gain points as opposed to City gaining points, right? But the thing is, City aren't playing that well, but they're still in touch and distance. And I think it will click with them, you know, and I think they will come good. So that's why I wouldn't write them off, and I still think that they'll be thereabouts.
Okay, I've got a text here, 5-3-1-6. Guys, look who Liverpool have played, the injuries they have, the VAR decisions that have gone against them. They're still third in the league. Fabinho and Thiago will be back for the Leicester game. Liverpool will win the league. Just briefly, David, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has had a week to think. He needs to do a lot of thinking. What should he be planning now regarding his team going forward at United? So inconsistent.
That's the big thing, is he's probably scratching his head going like, how can we become consistent? Do you know, look, they had a fantastic win against Everton. You know, if you'd gone back a few weeks, I think it was, it would have been a week or 10 days before, they'd beaten Red Bull Leipzig, and then obviously they lose to Istanbul. I won't try and pronounce the next part. But it was just, it's so up and down. And I imagine that's the most frustrating thing. Look, for me, they have to play McTominay and Fred, and just leave Bruno be Bruno and what he's done since he's joined the club. I think, like, Pogba, I don't know what the story with him is. I really don't. There's no doubting. Look, the fella's a fantastically gifted footballer. He's very, very good. I just don't know what's up with him. I think it's time to just, you know, shake hands and say, off you go. If you want to go to Madrid or Paris Saint-Germain or back to Juventus, then off you go. Do you know what I mean? Whatever they can get back from the 80 million transfer fee, just move them on. I think with Fred and McTominay, I think Fred is kind of finding good form. He's kind of being steady away. And I think McTominay, the big thing for him is just his energy, that he can clean up around the place and just leave Bruno play. Because, look, we all know the impact he's had. And you looked at the goals he got against Everton, albeit I know the second one was a cross kind of aim for Rashford that ended up going in. But he is their catalyst and he's their main man. And I think you just need to give him a free license and get him creating. And that's why, you know, someone like McTominay is probably needed, the one to do the dirty work. And I don't think Pogba will do that.
I totally agree with you there, David. Yeah, focus on those two players with with the quality that they have up, you know, in attacking areas and in on the break as well, and just forget about Pogba and try to get rid of him as quickly as possible for me.
Okay, Johnny Ward, Shane Keegan and David Meyler. Looking forward to that book, David, whenever it comes out. Thanks so much for speaking this afternoon. Really enjoyed the chat.
Thanks, lads.
Cheers, guys. Cheers,
lads.
Okay, that's been Off the Ball Football Saturday here. We'll just get a final update from Gaelic Grounds, Tipperary against Cork in the hurling. Wexford already out, knocked out by Clare. Shane Downing, what's the vibe?
Yeah, John, so I was just awaiting the teams come out here for the second half. Tipperary 2 points up, 9 points to 1-4. Like, you know, Cork haven't had too much shots on goal, but, you know, they have been very, very clinical. Like, they've only had 3 wides. Maybe that'll tell you behind the breeze is that they're not getting up to that often. I suppose for me, John, if I was to look at it now, 2 points in it, there's a very, very strong breeze. Cork are working so much harder than Tipperary from what I can see. And it's not that Tipperary aren't working hard, but, you know, I'm even seeing like all the Cork forwards have to come the whole way out the pitch. In the middle of the field from both 45s. I'd say there's 20 or 22 players in that. You know, but the one concern I'd have from Cork is from their own puckouts, from Anthony Nash's puckouts, they're not winning enough ball, and there's very, very ball being won cleanly, so that obviously means it's going to ground, and Tipperary are definitely doing better than them at that. I think if they can improve on their percentages in the puckouts in the second half, you know, it looks as if Patrick Horgan is going to be staying in very, very deep now again in the second half. And the one thing I'd say is they need to deliver the ball in long to him. If they can do that, John, I think this is Cork to lose.
Okay, Shane Dowling, thanks so much for that, and we'll keep you up to date on News Talk throughout the rest of the day. The Masters, Abraham Answer, Cameron Smith, Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson and John Ram all sharing the lead on 9 under par. Tiger Woods 5 under, Rory McIlroy 4 under par. Don't forget Off the Ball Sunday with Joe Molloy tomorrow from 1. A real treat. We bring you an hour-long special with the former Liverpool player and boss, Kenny Dalglish. You've got to listen to that. We'll also build up to the Republic of Ireland's game against Wales in the Nations League. Clean O'Connor and Tommy Conlon will join us for the Sunday pay-per-view. We'll have updates from around the country as the GA Championship continues, and Peter Lowry will look ahead to the final round of the Masters. If you missed any of our football chat with David Meyler, Johnny Ward or Shane Keegan, you can find a podcast of it on the OTB Sports app. Search OTB Sports in your app store now to download the app for iOS and Android, or check out the content wherever you get your pods. Thanks so much for listening today. Speak soon. Bye-bye.